Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the Isle of Cats Duel. This is the brand new two-player only version of the Isle of Cats. It ditches a few things, other than additional player counts, to make it a little bit more of a streamlined experience. And just so you're aware, it was provided to me by Asmodee for the review. Instead of drafting from a hand of cards, you're going to be moving a cat meeple around a market board in the middle. You're always going to be moving it 2 spaces, and anything the cat has touched on the turn, be that where it started or the things it moved across, you can take one of those things, be that a cat tile or one of those lesson or cards that's available to you. The reason you're taking those cats is to save them from the island, of course, but it's also for points along the way. You are going to be placing them so that they cover the rats up, which are negative points on your boat. You're trying to completely cover certain rooms of your boat, which again would have lost you points. You are trying to put them down in families of cats, so for instance, 3 blue cats next to each other are going to start scoring you points as a family, whereas if you only had 2 next to each other, they're not quite a family yet. You're also going to be trying to fulfill objective cards, otherwise called lessons in this game. They're going to be things that are selectable from that market board in the middle when you move that cat meeple. So instead of taking a cat tile, you could be taking a lesson, and those lessons are stuff like having 5 purple cats on your boat gets you a number of points, or perhaps having the entirety of the edge of your boat covered by cats or treasure tiles. Treasure tiles, you might wonder, they're another thing you can take from that central board. Some of the cards are yellow and they give you 2 of the treasure tiles, which are a couple of different shapes, and you can be using those to fill in gaps, cover up rats, and help you work towards some of those objective cards as well. There is one final type of card that can come out onto that market board, and these are purple, like instant things. These normally give you fish tokens depending on what's already on your boat. So maybe 1 fish token up to a maximum of 3 for every unique coloured cat on your boat. The fish tokens, what are those, you might then question? Well, these are little bonus things, and you start with 3 of them, and you can trade them in on your turn to do something a little bigger. Trading in 1 fish, well, that's going to allow you to move the cat meeple an additional space on that central board. So, I really want that cat tile that's 3 spaces away. Trade in a fish and you can move that little bit further. Spending 2 fish lets you do something even better than that though. It lets you jump anywhere on that board from one side to the other, hopefully getting that tile over there that you were really eyeing up a minute ago to fit onto your board. You could also spend 2 fish to take a treasure tile, any one of the 4 different shapes, and just add it to your board. There is of course one final thing you can do. You can spend 3 fish, and that lets you take an additional thing from where your cat meeple has moved. So your cat meeple in the middle, it's always going to start on one thing and then move on 2 other things, because you have to move it twice. So it'll have touched 3 items, maybe 4 if you've moved an additional space, and you can then spend 3 fish to take 2 of the things it's touched on its sort of journey across the market board. That's a big turn for sure. So the 4 rounds work the same way. At the start of the round, you're going to fill that market board with cards and tiles. Then you're going to go back and forth between the 2 players, taking a turn, maybe adding a cat tile to your board or taking a lesson, the objective cards that you're trying to score at the end of the game and such. And when both players have taken a turn and not taken anything, be that card or tile, the round ends. Everything from the board is going to be removed and returned to the box, and then you're going to take one of the cat tiles that you put off at the start of the game to sort of show the 4 different rounds. You add one of those into the bag to show, well, that round is done, or the next round is about to happen, as you then take tiles and refill that market board. So you're going to be losing points for rats and incomplete rooms, and then scoring points for your families of cats and those objective card lessons that you've actually managed to do. There is no penalty for taking a lesson card and not doing it, and some of the time you just go, well, I might do this lesson, I might not, so it's worth taking and picking up for potential points when you do the scoring at the end of the game. And of course, whoever has the most points wins. So let's start off by saying I love card drafting. I love polyomino placement when it's like Tetris tiles and you're adding them to a game board, and that's what the original Isle of Cats is. So I came into this experience expecting similar but not quite the same maybe enjoyment, because I enjoy card drafting and that element has gone. It's almost been streamlined into that market board in the middle, and you know what? Actually, I don't miss it at all. Just like with card drafting, 99% of the time, if there's a tile on the board, like a cat tile, oh, that purple cat would be perfect for my board. If you're not taking it on your turn, your opponent 99% of the time does have the chance to take it on theirs, unless you've like leaped the cat over to the other side of the board. So you do have that worry of, well, if I'm not picking it up on this turn, my opponent has the chance to take something that I am after. By removing the drafting of cards and paying for cards, it's also freed up those fish tokens to be used in a fun way. I love it when games let you break the rules or take a bigger turn. Oh, that cat tile that you want is just out of reach. Well, spend a fish token and move a bit further, or jump across the board, or pay 3 and take an additional thing from that market, or just 2 to take a treasure. I love it when a game lets you have big turns, but they're not like every single turn, because you have to acquire those fish, get those fish, and then you can spend them for a big turn, doing something a little bit different, maybe catching your opponent out, them going, ha, I've moved the cat over here, so they are now 3 spaces away from what I think that lesson card that they were wanting to get. Oh, but you've spent a fish and managed to get there. I like it when you can do that thing that's just a bit different, because it keeps the game fresh and those big turns always feel that extra bit fun. The streamlining also means that what was a 60 to 90 minute game, depending on player count, like if you're playing at 60 minutes, you could probably get down to 50, that sort of thing, maybe 45, is definitely a 30-minute experience now. And to be honest, that also works really well for me. Being able to get a game off the shelf, play it in a short period of time and get it back on the shelf in sort of 30 to 40 minutes if you include the setups and everything, and a bit of a reminding teach, that sort of thing. That's the sort of time we can play this game. I predominantly play my games at 2 players, so for me, I think this is replacing the original Isle of Cats in my collection. Of course, the 2-player trade-off is there. You don't have the opportunity, if a third person is round, to still play the same game. Of course, it's also a much smaller box. It's like maybe a quarter of the size, and it's still fairly jam-packed to get everything in there. The lid only just closes sort of job. You are therefore going to have this sort of much more portable experience to take with you and, you know, potentially a partner or a friend if you're going somewhere. Much easier to get into a bag or taking much less room in a suitcase. And for those wondering, it does still have like the little seat target thing in the lid of the box, although obviously your cat is going to have to be a little smaller to actually fit in this, but I don't think cats will worry about that. If they fit, they sit. One slightly interesting thing is that they do have double-sided boards, and you can see the shapes of the ships do slightly change from one side to the other. I don't think this is necessarily that big a change though, it's just putting polyominoes into a different shape overall. It doesn't massively change the game. However, I like that they have included 2 different shapes on both boards, and I do really rate these reminder icons showing you in the top right here what you can spend your fish on, so you don't ever have to go back to the rules, and also remind you of the scoring stuff at the bottom right. I think that's a really good inclusion on the boards. Unfortunately, I do have to end on a little bit of a negative when it comes to the boards, and this was definitely present in the original Isle of Cats as well. When you're placing the cat tiles and they go over walls, it just feels a little bit weird. And I think you can look at this and think, oh, it's going to be a much thinkier puzzle as I'm trying to fit these peculiar cat tiles into these rooms, and actually you're just trying to fit them onto the ship. It's a small thing, but I think some people definitely have looked at this thinking it's going to be a thinkier spatial puzzle with polyominoes than it actually is. I like that it's not as sort of harsh. It's a bit more forgiving because you can just, as long as the shape fits, it doesn't matter if it's going over a wall. Obviously it can't go over the edge of the boat, etc. I like that side of things, but I do still struggle with the same concept that the illustration shows a wall and my cat is going through the wall. It's just an odd quirk from the Isle of Cats that's still here in the Isle of Cats Duel. I don't think many people are going to have an issue with it. It's just, it feels odd placing one of those sprawled out cats and you put it on the board and it's like, well, yeah, I realise it sort of flopped through a wall, but yeah, polyominoes. But that is the Isle of Cats Duel. I've really enjoyed it and hopefully you will too if you do go and play it. Definitely I would recommend this if you liked the original. Try this one out. You might find you want the bigger player count or you just don't want to give up that drafting part, the card drafting part at least. But for me, the shorter play time and that streamlinedness really does work. But let me know your opinions in the comment section below. I'd love to see what you think of this one, of the Isle of Cats in general. Let us know. While you're going down, subscribe, like, all that sort of YouTube jazz. And until next time, have a cat-filled good day gaming.